r/AskReddit. Employees at an escape room. What was the weirdest things you've witnessed through the cameras? There was a room with a bed in it. Instead of continuing to follow the clues, two guests proceeded to put themselves to bed and then take a nap for half the time. They weren't hurting anything, so I let it happen. Before they left, they remade the bed and tucked two of our skeletons inside. I'm laughing so hard at the skeletons. It seems kind of wholesome. I asked an escape room employee this once. Our room had a big metal safe. One guy who played in that room just picked up and carried the safe around the entire time. He was just playing it safe. Get out. That's the whole point of an escape room. You should be locked up for that comment. Nothing really earth-shattering here. The strangest thing I can think of is this one time the guest skipped every clue and happened onto the final solution to escape the room in the first 5 minutes. As I was heading towards the exit of the room to offer them a steep discount for completing the room on record time and seeing if they wanted to try another room, I overheard the guests starting to unravel the mystery backwards from the end point. Seeing them sound so excited and into the mystery, I walked back to my station and saw them solve every puzzle backwards in record time. After they got out, we shared some laughs over what happened, then traded a free coupon for their next visit if they told me how they unraveled everything, so we can run it as a new scenario. Most of the rooms I've been to in Perth have specified, laid them out, so you need to solve puzzles sequentially. Everything is useful for something, and past clues are often essential to figuring out current puzzles. Most of the time you've got several rooms in one run to get out of, and pieces of the puzzle can overlap. So while you could figure out one of the room door puzzles, I guess, you generally need bits of that room to get through the next room. A couple broke up in the room I was running. I then gave them loads of hints so they could get out ASAP. Maybe they fooled you. Oh, possibly. But it would have been a rubbish way to do it, as I basically gave them the answers and they got nowhere near the leaderboard due to the amount of hints. Your name is hilarious. Have a wonderful day. I wish I can find enjoyment in such little things like you do. You must be a happy person. We had Zed, a group that, within about 30 seconds, worked out the code because one of the guys figured out a clue from the first 2 sentences from the video. They were pissed off. Jesus. Did somebody bring Rain Man to the escape room with them? If I remember rightly. And bear in mind, I should have mentioned I was in another room, and I'm not an employee. The theme was Great Escapes, and so all the clues were around famous escapes such as Houdini, Alcatraz and Colditz, and the videotape said something along the lines of "you have to try to liberate yourself. I claim your independence," and one of the guys went back, "I bet it's 471,776, turn to the combo lock." Click. I get the 1776. But why the 47? 4th of July, if I recall correctly, it was over 3 years ago. I went to a place with my family, and while we went into our room, we saw some employees working on fixing another room. Apparently someone from a group before us decided the only way out was to shoulder charge the door, which wasn't all that strong, and ripped the entire thing out of the frame. I guess they technically succeeded. They bill customer for damages in most cases. Whoever did it was all brawn, no brain. I'm a blunt instrument, and I'm damned good at it. But I don't wanna use my head Rex in Toy Story 2. Was in an escape room with some friends and a bunch of strangers. Premise of the roomies: that you've been kidnapped by a serial killer and you've got to get yourself out of his basement before he comes back. So it's super creepy and gross. A few clues in, we find the key to a 7 feet tall locker. One of the guys I don't know goes to open it. I'm standing right behind him. He unlocks it, and just as he reaches for the handle, the door starts to open from the inside. We were so in the moment. He and I just slam the damn thing shut and hold it with our combined weight. We're all asking each other what to do. And there comes a polite knocking from inside the locker. We're all jumpy as heck. But we finally decide to let whoever is in there out. It was the killer, and he was supposed to just jump scare the crap out of everyone and run out of the room. After we all escaped, he told us that had never happened before. He was just standing in the locker trying to figure out what to do. So funny afterwards. But it genuinely scared the crap out of me when it happened. Excuse me, gentlemen, but it's quite difficult to murder you all when you're holding the door closed. The story that comes to mind is a group of Swedish construction workers genuinely thought the solution to the puzzle was to lift the door off its hinges, although a more common experience would be explaining to customers that the games aren't as fun when intoxicated, and then have them complain that the game was way too hard. That stopped when we started adding a histogram of every player's score on the souvenir photos, and their embarrassing times were way longer than average. Hey Gustav, let's lift the door off its hinges. Apostrophe. Yes then. I like the way you think. Hey, you're finally awake. Apostrophe. My mother and her friends went to an escape room one night for a girls' night out. And while they were solving the room, one of them elected to just fiddle around with the final lock on the door, which was a 4-digit code, and miraculously unlocked it and walked out. We were doing a jewel heist one and there was a 4-letter lock, so I put in ring right away and it opened. It turns out that was a lock we would have unlocked about a third of the way in, so it screwed us up for a bit. But come on. It's a jewelry store, how am I not going to try ring? My cousin went through an escape room with his friends and were solving the puzzles at an alarmingly quick rate. They were told the entire escape process would take anywhere around 60 to 90 minutes. Well, they were finished in 10 minutes. The coordinator running the room was floored and told them this was the quickest she'd ever seen someone escape. Thinking they were cheating, she went into the room. Well, whoever the employee was that cleaned up the escape room before them left the answer key behind. So my cousin and his friends had found the answer key and it still took them 10 minutes to escape the room. They got a refund and were asked to please try again. So they were cheating, haha. Best escape room story I ever heard was someone flying home for Thanksgiving while his sister had persuaded their parents to try out an escape room together. They arranged it with the staff, so he was waiting for them in the second room. Not that crazy, but a fun story. Wholesome. Until you find out about the restraining order. This is not super relevant to the question, but a few years ago I went to an escape room to meet a Tinder date for the first time. He had paid for the session online and told me to get there at 7. He just didn't show up. I ended up completing the escape room with one of the employees there because she felt bad for me and the session was already booked, lol. Yeah, this one guy literally walked in and kicked the door down and walked through. His friends and I just stood there like, oh okay then. When you put all your special points into strength. Definitely a barbarian with a 20 strength. I don't know if this was one of the weirdest, but my friends and I turned off the escape room. There was a box on the wall with a pinhole in it. In a chest, we found a hat. On the hat was a hat pin. The hat pin fit perfectly into the hole in the box. Inside the box was a big red switch. We flipped the switch. Suddenly every single secret door opened. The lights turned on. The video projector switched from showing spooky words to showing a Windows desktop. And the music and sound effects all stopped playing. It was very confusing. About 2 minutes later, one of the employees came in shaking his head in disbelief. Apparently we found the kill switch and turned the whole thing off. He had to reset the entire room and then perform the actions in order to get the Gamsted back to where we had been before we killed it. This took about 20 minutes. When we were let back into the room, we had only 5 minutes left on our timer. Miraculously, we completed the room with 34 seconds to go. Management has assured us that the hat pin has been removed from the room as a result of our incident. Apostrophe. The group of guests managed to pull an entire twin bed, mattress, frame and all, through a thin passageway and into the final room through the secret door. They thought it would be part of the puzzle. It was not. I can't explain why this is so funny to me. It just is. Just the thought of it has me losing it. So there was this group of 5 or 6 teenagers in this one room. And at some point, when they open a secret door, the lights go out, making it almost pitch black in there. Now the cameras we look through obviously changed to using eye light. And I immediately see 2 of them go in a corner and start making out. So yeah, pretty weird having to see that while their friends, less than 2 meters away, be oblivious to what their friends were wasting their time on. Lol. Holy hell, those were some of my friends. Wait, what, really? Yeah, I had some friends like that too. They constantly did it too, with no shame and in front of anyone. Not an employee, but my so's old neighbor worked at an escape room and we went to try it out. It was a lot of fun, but we finally got the lock off this big wooden door for access into the second half of the room. And for some reason neither of us decided to try the door. We kept looking for clues for around 10 minutes until, over the walkie, the guy straight up told us to pull the door, and you can tell he was sick of it. We had similar. We tried to use a clue to get out, and the guy was like, no. Just go. Someone dug through 6 tons of sand on the floor to follow a live electrical cable, which she then tried to chew through. Edit. This was after being told multiple times there were no clues under the sand. What kind of stupid do you have to be to act like a squirrel? Speaking over the intercom, we promise you, there's no clue there. Please stop eating the wires. They could harm you. Foaming at the mouth. Fake news. Fake news. Shut up, GLaDOS. All you've ever done is lie to me. There's cake in it for you if you just stop chewing the wire. Not an employee. While looking for a key, I put my hand in a box and pulled out a stuffed rat tied to a cord. I was convinced this was important. Stuck my fingers up a tear in the stuffed toy's asshole and started yanking out its stuffing, convinced I'd find a key. A clue. Something. I was quickly warned over the phone by an employee that the rat was just part of the set and to please leave it alone. TLDR. Got in trouble for fingering a toy rat at an escape room. Haha. Hey look. He found that random rat we used to distra. No, oh my god. I'm not an employee, but once my friend saw a kid try and suffocate another kid with a blanket in the escape room. The ghosts in the haunted house themed escape rooms need to be legit. They ain't playing around. One of my friends works for a mobile escape room, like a double wide trailer that moves around for various festivals. And he told me that before he started working there, our extended Christian family had arranged a fun outing and the owner of the business had family-friendly versions that they approved of. I don't recall what the scenario was, but at one point, the family was so heavily divided, one stabbed the other with a pocket knife. My friend told me that he had to cover shifts where the employee who was working that night had to go to trial as a witness. Was that the Reynolds family? Was the stabbing committed with a toe knife? Nice. I had a girl pee herself in one of the rooms. It's important to note that our escape rooms aren't meant to be broken out of. You have a set objective in the room, so the doors are not locked. She could have left the room at any time. She just chose not to. I never got a chance to ask her why, as they left relatively quickly. Evidently not quickly enough. You've reached the end. You're a star. Destroy the subscribe button for more like that.